guys, been working on a new build. I decided to dabble in the Chronomancer. It's a frost bomb, 0 cooldown skill ability due to this armor. Character is extremely squishy currently. I don't have quite a few things quite figured out, but the premise is to scale frost bomb with as less duration and as many base levels as possible with no cooldown. It gets bigger and bigger, has pretty good damage scaling, and then you can do things like this with Temporalis and Chronomancer where you just recall back to your original spot, which can make some pretty hilarious things happen. Build's incredibly squishy and has some issues, but it is super duper fun to play. Still only level 84. Alright, so the core of the character is the Temporalis, of course. This is a very expensive item, although they are getting cheaper. And then the rest of the character is essentially dedicated as getting as many base levels to Frostbomb as possible. No real unique interactions here. The rings are res, life, mana regen. As far as the Ascendancy, honestly, it's me just wanting to make a Chronomancer. Nothing about this Ascendancy does anything super particularly good. These nodes are okay, but life is in a terrible spot. So the premise of me taking the recoup is because Temporalis has dual recoup on it. And the way recoup generally works is if you have multiple resource pools to mitigate damage away from your life or mitigation elsewhere in the tree, generally speaking, you take mitigated damage, but you recoup life as if you took the full amount of damage. So, for instance, with Energy Shield, if I take 800 damage to Energy Shield, I'm going to recoup that amount of life back, even though I didn't take any damage to my life because the Energy Shield shielded it. So with this helm, it becomes pretty efficient because the 24% of damage that bypasses Energy Shield is getting out recouped. So in theory, if I get my Energy Shield pulled high enough, this will absorb a lot of hits. The main problem that I haven't figured out is how I am going to deal with getting my Energy Shield back. I am leaning towards Eternal Youth. And then also, I have some plans to take some Mind Over Matter nodes. I don't want to take full Mind Over Matter because the mana cost on the skill is absolute batshit crazy with the levels that it's at, and it's still going to go up another 2 levels, I think. So this is just going to get worse, and I already have Inspiration linked to it. But yeah, that's the premise. The defensive layer is freeze, and then I can exploit, or I don't know if exploit's the right word, I can make use of the double slow. The way 2 instances of slows work in the game is that they multiply each other. So you can see here it says slow. Oop. I don't know if I can click on that. Yeah, there we go. Slows are always multiplicative with each other. So temporal chains is considered a slow on top of this. So I have temp chains and blasphemy. So this is a slow, and I am scaling some nodes here eventually. With this will double effect on the blasphemy, then also it should affect the slow here. And then I am hindering enemies, and then taking slow magnitude here. So the enemies are hindered and double slowed. I plan on taking these nodes as well to scale that. So the mobs can become incredibly slow, and then when I do freeze them, they're frozen for longer because of the slows that are on them. So that covers the defensive layers. It's really just temp chains, and that if I dropped this and ran a scepter, I could run Enfeeble for another defensive layer as a curse blasphemy, but right now I'm starved for spirit. This node allows me to ignore enemies' monster or the enemy's res while they're frozen, so it makes like getting damage as extra lightning or as extra cold pretty good because there's no downside to going dual elements outside of some of the small nodes that say generic cold damage don't apply to those. But I have very few of that, and most of my damage is coming via crit scaling. Future plans, generally just better gear. This might just come from levels, trying to fix this. The other main problem with Frost Bomb in particular is you have to get reduced skill effect duration. So there's a cluster here, and a cluster up here. This cluster up here is fine. This one's really far out of the way. So the only things that even make sense to take is these 2 nodes along the way, the Aura Effect and the Cruel Fate. But everything else along the way is kind of really bad. And then when you weapon swap to this, the plan is eventually, when I get time to it, is to make a weapon swap tree where I get more increased skill effect duration. And then that should also affect Eye of Winter when I cast that for the critical weakness staying on the enemy longer. Currently, because I have so much less duration, it doesn't stay on the mob but a second or 2. But that should scale the crit. And with that adding base crit, this should be, if that adds 10% base crit, this should be like 70% crit chance with 200% damage multiplier. Not the highest damage, but again, this whole premise was just to make a Chronomancer, and I thought Frostbomb was an interesting choice. Realistically, playing this probably as just a pure CI caster would, and then going Stormweaver or even a Titan to make use of the 50% effect of small nodes would probably just be better than Chronomancer. This ascendancy is not good in my opinion for the current state of the game and its speed, especially with items like this. This item kind of just invalidates anything you would use on this side of the tree, which is okay, but the game's too fast paced currently for Chronomancer to make sense. If the game was slower and you used a bunch of big heavy cooldown skills, it'd make more sense. The only other use case for Chronomancer is probably a curse bot or some defensive bot in a big party where you just time freeze everything and slow everything. Yeah, that's the gist. I will run another map just for the pure bliss of teleporting around like a madman and having no regrets. I hate that map.
With all the gods dead, I suppose I should turn my full attention to you.
Good old Delirium, broken.
How far
Oops, wrong button.
Didn't break a sweat. They rise from the waters. I need more time.
That guy's dead or not?
I'm carrying enough already.
Guess I can't go over that one.
Not yet. Thank you. Lunarized blade! There is power in this object. I can feel it. for that.
And there we go. That's about right. Yeah, hopefully solve it sometime. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Probably level this thing like 90, 93, somewhere in that zone. Try to finish it up, see if I can fix some of the issues, but yeah, it's fun. Also, before the comments come, yes, I know there are bardy use cases for this armor, and I know there are very strong builds, but I just wanted to have fun with it, and I found this fun. Gotcha.